Hangman is the guy to beat Mox. End of story. Not Darby, the Hangman. What's up? It's yours truly, Flamin' Ricky Gervais. Welcome to Wrestle Havoc, and this is my reason as to why Hangman Page should end Jon Moxley's reign of terror. Before we get into all this craziness, please make sure to like and subscribe to the Wrestle Havoc channel right here on YouTube, in which we discuss everything in and outside of the scored circle. Make sure to like and subscribe, and you should, for more content, and as the friggin' referee would say, ring that damn bell for more notifications. Okay, so we really need to get into this discussion about Hangman Adam Page. Of course, we are 9 days away from All In Texas, and it's AEW's biggest show of the year. All In is essentially their answer to WrestleMania. And the card is stacked. We got Mox versus Hangman, Okada versus Omega for the brand new Unified Championship, Mercedes Moné versus Toni Storm, Will Ospreay and Swerve Strickland versus the Young Bucks, and a whole lot more. This card is absolutely stacked, and I'm really looking forward to this show. Of course, the match that everybody is talking about is the main event. Hangman Page versus Jon Moxley for the AEW World Championship. Of course, Jon Moxley has had a stranglehold on the AEW World Championship. You could honestly say it's the equivalent of Jeff Jarrett holding the NWA World title numerous times in the early days of TNA, or Triple H's reign of terror in the early 2000s. The ironic thing is that both of those reigns happened at the exact same time. That's crazy. But of course, the Death Rider storyline started off very promising, and as most things in AEW, they tend to fall flat on their face. And I think a large portion of why that was that as the months went by, there were just normal heels on the roster. This wasn't an NWO-like takeover as AEW made it out to be in the beginning. And I feel like they've realized that nowadays. AEW is the type of promotion that really loves their takeover storylines. I mean, for God's sakes, they did a whole takeover angle with the Elite last year, and Tony Khan took one for the team. Where did that lead him? Nowhere. So they tried something new with the Death Riders, and it started off promising. Jon Moxley suffocated Bryan Danielson not once, but twice, essentially writing him out of the show. And Jon Moxley has been holding the AEW World Championship hostage. And I mean, literally holding it hostage. I mean, for God's sakes, it's been hidden in this briefcase for a long time. We had crappy pay-per-view main event after crappy pay-per-view main event after crappy pay-per-view event. I think it's safe to say from a pay-per-view main event standpoint, AEW just hasn't delivered. And I'm a fan of Adam Copeland, but the match between Jon Moxley and Adam Copeland just sucked. It was horrible. Not to mention the finish was god-awful. I know everybody likes to rag on Dynasty's main event, and trust me, you can, but I'm the type of person that genuinely believes that the Revolution main event ended way worse than Dynasty's. That's just me, though. The Young Bucks' involvement, looking back, kind of doesn't make any sense. Not to mention it pissed a lot of people off, but it is what it is. Now everybody was wondering who was going to be the guy to beat Jon Moxley. And in previous videos, I stated two men and two men only: Darby Allin and Hangman Adam Page. Now, Darby Allin has survived Mount Everest. And from what it looks like, according to the reports, that Darby Allin is set to return ASAP to AEW, which is great. But I gotta be honest, as much as I would love for Darby Allin to beat Jon Moxley, it just would not make sense whatsoever. And a large portion has to do with the fact that he just wasn't on television. Fans have grown tired, and I mean legitimately have grown tired of the Death Riders. I don't think you should abolish the group whatsoever. I think even after, if Hangman Page wins, honestly, they should keep the group around and have a different creative direction behind the group. But in terms of the takeover of AEW, it clearly went nowhere. Now let's get to the nitty gritty. Hangman Adam Page. Of course, Hangman Adam Page has gone through a, let's just say, character renaissance. Hangman Page by far is the most interesting character in all of AEW, and his whole feud with Swerve Strickland shows that. Swerve Strickland literally reignited the fire of Hangman Page, and that is saying something because Hangman Page burned this man's house down. Holy shit, I can't believe I said that. But in all seriousness, the whole Swerve Strickland and Hangman Page feud really made Hangman Page interesting for a change. Because after dropping the AEW World Championship to CMPunk back in 2022, AEW was kind of lost with Hangman Page. But not completely, because he did have that great feud with Jon Moxley back in 2023. But ever since Swerve Strickland came into the fold, the character of Hangman Page just got ramped up to a whole nother level. Of course, Hangman Page had that great match with Will Ospreay in the finals of the Owen Hart Cup tournament this past May at Double or Nothing. And it was a great match considering it created that unpredictability nature. Either one of those guys could have won that match and went on to face Jon Moxley at All In, and it ended up being Hangman Adam Page. Not to mention the first promo that Hangman Page cut after winning the Owen Hart Cup tournament was phenomenal. And them involving Will Ospreay and Swerve Strickland into the mix in that segment made it even more interesting. Of course, Will Ospreay wants them all to work together, but Swerve does not want any part of it considering his history with Hangman Adam Page. Not to mention Hangman Page even refuses help from Swerve Strickland. I mean, bro, drama, that's what you need. You know for a fact they're going to create that moment with Swerve Strickland coming in, swallowing his pride, and eventually helping Hangman Page. It's going to be friggin' awesome.
Also, the promo he cut at Grand Slam Mexico, this man spoke fluent Spanish. That's baby
babyface shit right there. But now what makes this match even more interesting is the fact that this match is going to be a Texas death match. Now, this isn't the first time that they've had a Texas death match. The last time that they had a Texas death match was back at Revolution in 2023. And this was on a show that had Bryan Danielson and MJF on the same card. These guys tore the fucking house down. Of course, that match ended with Hangman Page choking out Jon Moxley and even making Jon Moxley tap out. Now, I know a lot of people have expressed their concerns about this match being a Texas death match, because if it's a Texas death match, this match is going to be no DQ. And normally, Wrestling 101 would dictate if a match is no DQ, of course there's going to be interference. But people should know by now that there's going to be involvement of the Death Riders regardless. I mean, it's AEW, they always do that type of stuff. But when it comes to this match, the question that we need to ask ourselves is Hangman Page actually going to go over in this match? Because the way that they have built this match, it shows that Hangman Page is most likely going to win. And that should be the right decision to make. But I do see the slight concern of people thinking that Hangman Page is probably not going to go over and they're going to probably wait for Darby Allin. I'm telling you guys right now, the entire outcome of this main event will be decided depending on who wins the Casino Gauntlet match. Of course, AEW has announced the Casino Gauntlet match, and we know MJF is going to be involved. Now, if MJF wins, my best bet is that Hangman Page is going to go over. But, as we all know, Darby Allin is slated to return. If by any chance Darby Allin comes back and wins the Casino Gauntlet, my hope for Hangman Page winning is going to be thrown right out the window, because it clearly shows that they want to go with Darby Allin. And look, a part of me really wants Darby Allin to be the guy, but I'm going to be honest, I've come to the realization that Darby Allin is just not the guy. Yes, the Death Rider storyline started with Darby Allin, and yes, it would make sense for him to dethrone Jon Moxley, but I think it's going to be a huge missed opportunity if they don't put the belt on Hangman at All In. Because if you look at the crowd reactions that Hangman has been having on Dynamite recently, I mean, for God's sakes, the crowd is 100% behind this guy, and they really want him to go over. You know for a fact that we're going to be getting some sort of WrestleMania 40-esque type of match, and that is saying something. You're going to have interferences left and right in this match, but Darby Allin should not be the guy. I appreciate that Darby Allin wants to take time off and he climbed Mount Everest. I appreciate that. But don't you think it's a little bit of a bad look for Darby Allin to take time off and climb Mount Everest and then come back and then be awarded the World Championship? I just don't think that's a great look. Let's be real with ourselves. Not to mention, if they have Jon Moxley win, I think it's going to turn a lot of fans off to the AEW product. And that is saying something, because we're living at a time right now where AEW is finally starting to get some sort of steam back. Now, is this a case of this being AEW in 2021 all over again? No. And I'm going to say this right here and right now, and this is not the last time I'm going to be saying this. AEW in 2025 is not better than AEW in 2021. I've been seeing a lot of tweets stating that, but what I can say is that AEW in 2025 is 100 times better than AEW in 2024. Because even though we got a lot of good in terms of match quality, we got a lot of shit. But the show is still not perfect by any means. But Hangman Page has to be the guy, end off. This is the perfect opportunity for AEW to move on from the Death Riders, kill off the Death Riders and their whole motive to take over AEW. And hell, if they want to keep the Death Riders around, keep them around, but change their creative direction, because that was the biggest problem with the Death Riders to begin with. It was not the group itself, it was their creative approach. The crazy thing about it is that I always like comparing the Death Riders to the Judgment Day, because the Judgment Day now is completely different than the Judgment Day that we first saw back in the beginning of 2022. AEW can literally repackage the Death Riders into something a little bit different, but the whole takeover motive, kill that shit, because it hasn't worked. Now, I will say this, even though I hated the fact that Jon Moxley has hidden the AEW World Championship in a fucking briefcase, I think the visual of Hangman Page winning the World Championship and revealing the belt from the briefcase not only creates an interesting visual, but I think creates a great moment, and I feel like that was the moment that AEW is trying to go for. And I think we're going to get that at All In. All In is the perfect opportunity to end the Death Rider storyline, or at least end this current incarnation of the Death Riders. Hangman Page is by far, at this moment, their top guy. AEW has put a lot of time and effort into this new Hangman Page character ever since he first started feuding with Swerve Strickland back in late 2023. And he has been one of the major highlights during this whole down period of AEW. Because let's be honest with ourselves, even though all the fucking sickos will tell you it's all sunshine and rainbows, it hasn't been. There's been a lot of shit throughout the past couple of years in AEW, and all that shit turned a lot of people off. Hangman Page was one of those guys that had people still watch AEW, myself included. And honestly, he is the perfect guy to beat Jon Moxley. Not to mention all the history that he has with Jon Moxley. I mean, dude, both of these men are incapable of having a bad match, and I know for a fact they're going to do a lot of crazy shit. Not to mention the segment that we saw last night on Dynamite was off the chain. Bro, we had Hangman Page literally give Marina Shafir a whole buckshot lariat, and the pop that he got from the crowd was insane. Hangman Page at the end of the day is our savior. He is the only one, not Darby, Hangman. If you want to go even deeper, Hangman Page is literally the main character of AEW. Literally the main character. This guy in the first press conference of AEW all the way back in 2019 vowed that he was going to win the AEW World Championship. It was essentially the rise, fall, rise again, fall, and then once again the rise again. That's Hangman Page's story, but it was very compelling. Wipe the slate clean, crown Hangman as your guy, and move on. I feel like if Hangman Page wins, bro, a feud with MJF is just right then and there. I mean, for God's sakes, the match that they had at Revolution was arguably one of the best matches of the year, in my opinion. And if they have a full-fledged feud, dude, that's money right there. It's all about the Hangman. He is going to save us from Jon Moxley, and that is it. And I guarantee you, if that happens, the moment is going to be epic. But yeah, that was my video on why Hangman Page should be the guy to dethrone Jon Moxley for the AEW World Championship. Please like, subscribe, comment down below, push that bell for notifications. I mean, look out for more videos right here on the Wrestle Havoc channel in which we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content, and as the Virgin referee would say, ring, ring, ring that damn bell for more notifications. And as always, it is yours truly, Flamin' Ricky DeRays, signing out. I'll see you guys all in the next video. Peace.